Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a video I don't always love making, but I know you guys are really interested in it, and that is my most disappointing reads of 2021. Usually I keep my content pretty positive, and I love talking about books I love. Like, I get so excited telling you guys recommendations and things that I love, but I know you guys are also interested in what I don't love and why, so this is a video of my disappointing reads. They're not necessarily the worst, so a lot of them are 3-star reads or 2-star reads, so they are books that I had really high expectations for that just didn't meet the mark. Sometimes they were super hyped. A few of them were from videos that I was reading hyped books from, so I will go ahead and get to the books on my list. So the first one is an author that unfortunately I have not been loving lately, and that is Claimed by J.R. Ward. This one I was really excited for. It's the first book in a new series. It is a werewolf romance. The werewolves came like 95% into the book. Like, a lot of it has to do with wolves, but we didn't figure out who the werewolf was until way far into the book, and it felt so completely random. The romance was not something I cared about whatsoever. It did feel insta-love. It was interesting enough because our heroine was working for like this wolf preserve, and someone was like poisoning the wolves, and they had to figure out what was doing that, and then it just like, I did not care. I know a lot of my friends were disappointed as well, and I just have not been loving J.R. Ward's romances lately. Even the Black Dagger Brotherhood books, that's why I haven't read the newest one yet, because I'm worried that I won't love it. So this one was really disappointing. I had given it 2 stars. Another one that really disappointed me that made me really sad is The Wicked Deeds of Daniel McKenzie. This is a book in the Mackenzie McBride series by Jennifer Ashley. If you've been watching me for a while, you know the first 4 books are my absolute favorites. Like, Ian McKenzie is one of my favorite historical romance heroes. It's one of my favorite historical romance books. The first 4 are following the siblings, and they are amazing. And so I was reading book 5 and it was okay, and then I read this one, and it's Daniel's story, who I believe is Cameron's son. And so I was really excited because I really loved watching him growing up in the books, but this was so boring. I didn't think that the plot really had a lot going for it. He was an inventor, and there was so much possibility with it, and I just didn't love it. And I didn't love the romance. I didn't really care. I was listening to the audiobook of this one, and I was just like, is anything gonna happen? I feel like if the plot is really slow, it's more obvious to me in an audiobook, because if I'm bored, then I'm just like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? Because I can't like skim read. If I get bored in a book, I'll like start reading faster, but I can't do that with an audiobook because I listen at the same speed. So this one just was very disappointing. The next one is one that is super hyped that I know a lot of people love, but Zodiac Academy was not at all what I was expecting, and not something I enjoyed. So it is following twins, and I feel like this book had too much it was trying to do. They like had elemental powers, but then they were going to this kind of school that kind of had like Harry Potter houses going on, and then they had their own different sort of kind of romances, but then like they were being bullied by everyone, but then they were trusting their bullies, and then their bullies would turn on them. And I'm like, well duh, because they're your bullies, why would you trust them? And it was just like, so much was happening, and I just did not care, and it was so hard for me to read, and it did not do well for me, and I'm not interested in continuing this at all. People said the first book is the worst, but I wasn't interested in any of these characters. I don't care about continuing the series. The next one's another super hyped one that I thought was just okay, but not like the most amazing thing ever that everyone's made it out to be, and that's It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This one, I was loving the hero in the beginning. He is like a grumpy fisherman, and I love that, but like our heroine, I did not like at all. She, I guess, is inspired by someone from Schitt's Creek, which I've never watched before, but she is a spoiled socialite who doesn't have a job. She like broke into a hotel to throw a party, and I just like cannot relate whatsoever to someone like that, and I did not care about her problems, because then she was shipped off by her stepfather with her sister to her father's hometown, who's passed away, and they have to like renovate his bar, and the conflict was just so obvious to me, and I was annoyed that that was the conflict because I could see it coming a mile away, so I was just waiting for that bomb to drop, and then I knew what was gonna happen, and it was just not that great, and it was actually really insta-love, and I wasn't expecting that from this, the way people talked about it and the way it was set up. So I was disappointed. I gave this 3 stars. It was not the best thing ever, but I know a lot of people absolutely loved it. The next one is The Savage and the Swan. This one is a really really gorgeous cover, and it is a fantasy romance, but it did not deliver on the fantasy romance aspect. The world building had me completely lost, and the pacing was not that great, and I'm even right now having a really hard time figuring something like the plot out. I think she was like a swan, like she could shapeshift into a swan, and I can't even tell you anything else about the plot. I read this like in July, I think, and I gave it 2 stars. I did not enjoy anything reading about this, and I can't even remember anything about it, so definitely disappointing to me. Then The Master by Cressley Cole. This one I was really excited to read. I read, I think, for the Mafia Romance Readathon this summer, and I've heard amazing things about Cressley Cole's Mafia romances, but the problem for me was this one took place like entirely in like their home, and I really don't love romances that only take place in like the home and they never go out and do stuff. And I feel like that was the same with the Cora Riley series, the like Bound by Honor books. I don't love those because a lot of them just take place with the heroine sitting around at home, and in this one she just like hangs around in the apartment the whole time, and I was really bored by the whole thing. And as a mafia romance, I shouldn't be bored. There was barely any mafia content, which I really wanted, so I think I gave this one 2 stars. I just like could not care less about the plot, and it was very boring to me, so that's why it was disappointing. Then there's The Pirate and the Pagan by Virginia Henley. This one was a historical Hellions pick, and it was just so hard to follow. The writing I wasn't a fan of. We had random perspectives like of the royalty, and I feel like it did not need to be added, and it just took me out of the story. The hero and the heroine's relationship was not my favorite, and then just learning about what happens next, I was like, I am so happy I stopped reading this. It was such a long romance, and I was not having a good time, and just thinking about having to read like the next 300 pages over the next 2 days before my live show made me dread reading, so I stopped. And I don't know if I can pick up another Virginia Henley. Let me know if you have one of hers that you actually enjoyed, because I really was not a fan of the writing or the weird perspective changes, and there was no pirate until I think the pirate came in like 60 or 70% in the book, but the fact that it was called The Pirate and the Pagan and it's not a pirate romance until that far in was severely disappointing. Then I have Just Drop Out by Jay Bree. This is another one that a ton of people love, but the heroine is like in 9th grade, and I'm just like, she's like 15, like what is happening? And like they are acting like there's like these big bad rough and tough people, and I was like, literally a year ago you were in middle school. Like 5 months ago you were an 8th grader, and it was just bizarre to me that the heroine would be that young, and nothing like explicitly romantic had happened in this book, but it was a bet going around campus. She's at this like school, and there's a bet going around campus of someone, the first people to like sleep with her, willingly or not on her part. She was terrified of like guys around her all the time, and I'm just like, she is 15. And then apparently before this book started, she had won this like battle to the death competition that they didn't even mention, and she's somehow affiliated with the mafia that they really didn't even mention either. And I was just like, this is so bizarre and so weird, and I was like, I just can't with this. And they're 15-year-olds, so like what is going on? I did not get this book at all. Not a lot was really explained, and I did not have a good time. And it's another one where like it's a bully romance, and the heroine like willingly hangs out with her bullies, and I just don't get why that happens. So I just didn't like this one. Another one by one of my favorite authors is The One That Got Away by Karina Halley. I absolutely loved The Forbidden Man, and this one is in that same world, and it was very disappointing. It was, I don't even remember the premise of this, but I remember there being like a ton of time jumps, and I do not love when there are time jumps like that, and there was like no point in the time jumps. I feel like if they had just talked to one another, they could have saved like 10 years of a relationship, and that's what happened in this one, and so it made me super frustrated. I'm honestly having such a hard time remembering what their romance, how it even started, but I remember it going like spanning years, and if they had just talked to each other, they wouldn't have wasted all those years, and it just makes me annoying when miscommunication is a trope, so I did not love this one, but The Forbidden Man is still one of my favorites. Just this one was very disappointing. Another one I actually just read last week is Wild Child by Eloisa James. This one, I know Eloisa James is a hit or miss author for me. I either really love her book or I really don't like it, and this one I gave 2 stars. It was so boring. Like, I did not care about anything that was happening in the plot. Not a lot even happened, and our heroine really wants to be Hamlet in the play Hamlet, and so her friend acts as the Ophelia, and I think it was Ophelia, right? And so the hero, I think, has tried to like court 2 of her sisters, and she is clearly like born out of wedlock. Like, in infidelity because she looks like someone that's not her parents. And so there's like scandal surrounding her, but like he also has a dad who's a duke who claims he was married to his love before he married the hero's mother. So he's trying to say like his other son is supposed to be the duke and not our hero. And I'm just like, I don't care. Nothing really happened. I didn't care about the romance, so I gave this one 2 stars. It was really disappointing, and it made me really sad. The last one I have is Make It Sweet by Kristen Callahan. This one I was really excited to read because a lot of people have been talking about it. It was a hockey player romance, and it was a baking romance, but it was boring. I really need more to my plots, and this one was so boring. They just like stayed at this hotel together, or this inn together, and really that was it. They baked, they went to dinner, like nothing externally was really happening in the plot. And he had gotten too many concussions, so he wasn't supposed to play anymore, especially because of what happened with his father. His father died, I think, of dementia, and so he had seen, like, experienced some like really horrifying like mental blocks himself, like after being hit. And so he's like, yeah, I'm never gonna play again, like that's horrifying. And then he makes the dumbest decision that really made the heroine upset, that really put a strain on their relationship, and it made me so mad because I was like, this negates what happened for the entirety of what's already happened in the book. Like, why would you do that? And so I was really annoyed, and I think I gave this one 2.5 stars, especially because it was boring. So I was surprised how boring it was, and I just didn't love it. And those are my most disappointing romances of 2021. Please remember, these are just my thoughts. I know a lot of these people have rated 5 stars and really loved. They just personally weren't what I loved, especially because I sometimes need more to my plots, or I need to care about my characters more. So that is why I felt this way about those books. But if you love them, that's great. I'm so happy you love them. But those are just my opinions. So let me know down below if you've read these and what your thoughts are, or what your most disappointing reads of 2021 are. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.